Are you still wondering whether or not you should pull for Varesa or any of the reruns in version 5.5? Well, you're in luck. In today's video, we'll analyze why you probably should skip all the banners in this update and save for the upcoming ones. And I'll give you a heads up that the next updates are packed with strong and highly anticipated characters. We're currently in version 5.5, and in about 3 months we'll have version 5.7, which promises the release of Skirk and the return of Mavuika's banner. If you're planning to invest in any of these characters, it will certainly be an extremely difficult decision between pulling or not on each of the upcoming banners, so stick with me until the end of the video, as we'll analyze whether it's worth saving your precious primogems or not. Version 5.5 is coming soon, and if you're planning to pull on any of the upcoming banners, let me introduce you to Loot Bar. It's a fast, secure, and super reliable website to top up your Genesis crystals. On Loot Bar, you'll find prices with up to 23% discounts compared to in-game prices, and a super simple process. Just select the amount of Genesis crystals you need, enter your UID and server, and complete the purchase. Everything is done securely, so your items are delivered straight to your account without any stress. In addition to Genshin Impact, on Loot Bar you can also top up other games like Honkai Star Rail and Wuthering Waves. And if you play on other platforms like PS5 and Xbox, you can also top up at Loot Bar. Click the link in the description and register to get an 8% discount coupon that can be combined with all other discounts. Before we begin, it's worth mentioning that everything I'm going to say in this video is from a perspective that doesn't consider whether you like a character or not. If you really like a character, it's probably worth getting them. Because remember that Genshin Impact is a PvE game, and you can complete all content with the character you like. Never feel pressured to pull for someone just because they're considered meta. Always play to have fun. Anyway, without further ado, let's start with the upcoming banners that will arrive tomorrow. As soon as the game returns from offline maintenance, Varesa and Xianyun's banners will arrive in the game. And look, this banner is really good, but you still might not want to pull. Especially if you're saving for Skirk's release or Mavuika's rerun. Varesa will be the 5-star launch character, an electro DPS focused on plunge attacks. Along with her, we'll also have the debut of Xianyun as a 4-star. Additionally, we'll have Xianyun's Rerun, and alongside Xianyun, we'll have Gaming and Chevreuse completing the 4-star lineup of the banners. Starting with Varesa, she's an incredibly flexible and powerful electro DPS. What makes her special is her ability to adapt to different team compositions. Whether in teams focused on reactions like Overloaded or Quick Bloom, or even with conventional attack and crit damage buffs, Varesa manages to shine in practically any scenario. Her plunge attack mechanic is quite fun and visually impressive, but it also requires some practice to maximize her potential. And Varesa has a visible power growth with each constellation level unlocked. We'll also have Xianyun's Rerun, who is a support character focused on teams based on plunge attacks and specific buffs for this playstyle. It makes sense for Xianyun to be alongside Varesa, as they have an interesting synergy, although they're not completely ideal together. And while Xianyun is a good character, she's limited to a specific niche of teams, and when compared to other supports like Kazuha, for example, the investment might not be as worthwhile. And now the main question, is it worth investing in these banners? Well, the answer is, it depends. If you already have an electro DPS in your account, such as Clorinda or Raiden Shogun, it might not be so interesting to invest in Varesa. It's true that she'll be quite strong and probably surpass other electro DPS in terms of damage, but it won't be something you'll miss to the point of not being able to clear content. Additionally, if you have off-field electro applicators like Yaimiko and Fischl, you can already meet any electro application needs you might have in some content. Of course, if you absolutely loved Varesa and really want to play with her, it's worth pulling. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we won't consider whether you're a fan of the character. Now, Xianyun is an extremely specific support, and she's not necessary for any team other than Xiao's team. Of course, there are some situations where you can create unusual compositions like Diluc Fate Plunge, but unless you have spare primogems, I wouldn't recommend spending them. And of course, we also have Xianyun in these banners, who's being called an alternative Bennett. Xianyun offers several impressive buffs based on the movement of team characters. This means she's perfect for melee characters, or those who need to reposition constantly during combat. Moreover, Ian-san can still use the Cinder City artifact set, arguably the strongest support artifact set in the game. However, pulling on banners just for the 4 stars is something I wouldn't recommend doing, because 4 stars usually reach their peak power only at high constellations, which can lead you to spend more pulls than you'd like. Of course, if you already plan to get Varesa or Xianyun, you're in luck. Moving on to the second half of version 5.5, we'll have 2 reruns, Xilonen and Venti. Xilonen is one of the most universal supports in the game thanks to her ability to reduce elemental resistances and increase the team's elemental damage. She works incredibly well with almost all elements and has been consistently popular in the Spiral Abyss since her first banner. If you don't have Xilonen in your account yet, this is a great time to consider her. Xilonen is practically essential if you have or want to acquire Mavuika in the future, as she charges Mavuika's ult in a matter of seconds, in addition to her various powerful buffs. Xilonen is extremely free-to-play friendly and easy to build, as her artifacts are just defense and energy recharge. And since her weapon is a sword, she has access to several strong 4-star swords. In my opinion, everyone should have at least 1 copy of Xilonen in their account. However, if you already have Xilonen and were planning to invest in her constellations, this might not be the ideal time for that. Of course, Xilonen's C2 is one of the strongest support constellations, but her C1 isn't that interesting. The buffs don't justify the investment, and if you have limited primogems, the next banners might be more interesting for you. On the other hand, Venti is a more specific case. He's excellent in situations where enemies can be easily grouped with his elemental skill and ultimate. However, many modern enemies were designed to be immune to Venti's grouping, which greatly limits his usefulness in the current game content. Still, he can be useful in specific events or challenges where his crowd control shines, but I don't recommend pulling on Venti's banner unless you're a fan. Now that we've talked about the version 5.5 banners, let's talk a bit about the upcoming versions. Some time ago, we had a rumor that in version 5.6, a Fontaine character called Akefi or Effie would be released. Her name hadn't been decided yet. However, today information came out that her name is actually Escoffier. The information we have about Escoffier so far is that she will be a 5-star cryo character who uses a polearm. Escoffier will be a cryo support for teams focused on the freeze elemental reaction that reduces cryo and hydro resistance, and will probably be part of Skirk's main team. Now jumping to version 5.7, this is where the catch comes in. In this version, we'll have the release of Skirk, who is highly anticipated and will probably be the next broken DPS in the game. Skirk will be a cryo main DPS, which means we'll finally have a top-tier cryo DPS after a long time without one. But the exciting news doesn't end there. In the same version, we'll likely have Mavuika's rerun. We know this because following patterns from previous versions, Archons have reruns after 4 versions of their release. Additionally, between versions 5.5 and 5.7, we'll probably have reruns of characters like Mualani, Kinich, Emily, and Chaska. So if you plan to get any of these characters, you should carefully consider each banner and think hard about what you should do with your primogems. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Leave in the comments your plans for the upcoming patches, if you're excited for any specific character, or if you're going to pull for Varesa or Xianyun tomorrow. If this helped you in any way, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.